So I'm gonna give you a quick recap, and then I'll let you just
Okay.
coach me.
How can I help?
When I got back from Dallas, I thought, you know what? There is so many people who need what I can do. So I sent out an email to all of my email list, including past clients. Well, one of my past clients contacted me and she said, I have a staff of 6 people and I want you to coach them all. But I want them to decide, you know, if it's a fit for them, of course. And so I thought, you know, what an opportunity and what an encouragement from her. So I started sending some nurturing emails, and I noticed I immediately got a response back from one person.
Okay.
And so that was exciting. But then I got into oh, I need to send another one. Oh, you know, and then I thought, oh, anyway, so yesterday I got coached by Brooke and I got coached by Beth. Brooke said, you need to clean up your thinking because this morning was my consultation with this person who signed
Okay.
up. By the way, she did sign up.
Nice. Okay. Tell me how I can help you though.
Well, I was just really, I was so anxious, thinking about what am I thinking that I am so nervous about getting these clients? And I came up with the thought, these are professional women.
Yeah.
And then of course, the underline, and
And
you're
what was underneath it? And you're not?
not yet.
Yeah.
So that's the thinking that Brooke said I needed to clean up, and Bev helped me borrow the thoughts from my client who asked me to coach her clients or her staff, and that was helpful. But it was still like I noticed last night that what's wrong with you?
Yeah. So is that the thought that's causing you problems right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things, and I want to make sure that I show you guys all this. Here's what our brains do. We have a thought. What's wrong with you? And this is a super normal thought. Our brains are like, I asked such good questions. It's so proud of itself. And we on the other side are like, ooh, I don't know. But there's 2 ways to approach this. And so what we usually do on default is that we think a thought like, what's wrong with you? And when you thought this thought, what did you try and do?
Um, Learning from you, I'm practicing. Um, what's going on, sweetheart? What's going on, lovely? You know, talking to myself. Oh, and with compassion.
Okay. So did you try and answer the question? Did you
No.
try? No? Perfect. So what we do on default is when we have a thought, we try and either answer it or take action from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this could look like justifying, nothing is wrong with me, right? It's almost like crazy person. Why would you say that? Like nothing is wrong with me, or like what's right now, right? We try and like switch and do the opposite. We try and justify, but sometimes it's like the thought is, I need to do more. I need to figure this out. And so we're like, okay, I better go figure this out.
I
But
should be more confident.
yeah. But the quickest way to solve this is to solve it as a thought. And when it's a thought, it's like, oh, there's just a model around it. Every thought is optional. This is a default thought, right? It's thoughts about the experience you're having, which is like, yeah, you know what? I just thought a thought. It's like if I'm married and like I was at a hotel and I'm like, oh my gosh, I could just do anything I wanted here. We wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, I've become a cheater. You'd be like, yeah, sometimes my brain has crazy thoughts. Same thing. Sometimes my brain has thoughts.
Yeah, it does. And one of the things I found myself thinking is, it's okay to have this not be easy.
Yes. Because you're thinking it's hard?
Mhm.
Yeah. Why do you, in fact, want it to be hard, Peggy? You're like, I never thought about that.
I really, to show myself I do hard things,
Okay. What
but
else?
I prefer it to be easier.
But you don't, right? Like, if we wanted, because if this was easy, what part of your business do you want to be easy?
Consults.
Okay. You want it to be easy. Why?
Oh, because I think I would feel more confident.
Yeah.
Interesting, isn't it?
So you could
Confidence
just,
comes from doing hard things.
yes. Confidence, certainty. It comes from knowing that you can.
Yeah.
But I want everybody to make sure you're really clear why you, because growing a business is going to be hard. We can create simplicity, we can create calm, we can create certainty, and it's still going to be hard. And you want to decide why that's okay.
Mhm.
Because if it's not hard for you, that means it's not going to be hard for anyone. And it's like, why do people put that, like, I ran a marathon little number on the back of their car? Because it was hard and they want people to know that they're a badass. Why does somebody climb a mountain? Because it's hard. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Right. And for myself, this is hard, and I am doing it.
Yeah, it's hard and I
Feels,
want to.
yeah, that feels great.
And there's a reward on the other side. I think about labor. I birthed 2 of my 3 children without medication. That was hard.
Mm-hmm.
There was a baby on the other end.
Yes.
Right? I think about the people who don't have the baby on the other end, but that's a whole different analogy. It goes very wrong there. But in business, we have to decide that there is that baby on the other end, because no matter what, we don't stop until we get the baby. Whether they went through the labor and didn't get the baby at the end, they adopted, they did a surrogate, they did something. They made sure that baby was at the other end. Every single one of you guys, everything you want in your business, you have to just decide that baby is over there and I'm getting it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And all of this discomfort is making it, that baby, even more beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for everything. This has just been amazing.
Good. Awesome, Peggy. Thanks for joining us.
And I did get one new client this week.
Go post it in the group and celebrate. Everybody needs to hear it. Everybody needs to know.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Who needs coaching? Let's do Doreen. Doreen, are you there? There she is. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I am, you know what? I have the ability to manage my mind and I feel better than ever.
Awesome.
Right.
You're doing great. I appreciate all that you're training us to learn. So this is my thing. I am doing all the things like like everybody else. And right now I'm in the middle of a 5-day challenge in my Facebook group. I got 56 people to jump in. I'm doing daily videos and I'm not seeing everybody watching the videos. I know there's a lot of coaches in there, so I'm getting a little in my head. And part of the process of this is to start a paid group. So I have learned that doing lives in a group is not great for me. I'd rather do Zoom where I can communicate back and forth with people.
Okay.
But I actually just sent out the email about my paid group, and I'm getting ready on Friday to pitch and paint the vision.
Okay.
And so that is where I'm getting like stressed.
Yeah. So you think that you're getting stressed at these steps, but
Yeah.
really here's what's missing.
Thank you.
You're forgetting to believe that it all works.
Yeah.
You're forgetting to believe. So how many people are going to be in your group?
As many as want as many as they want.
Okay. But you need to set a number for your own mind, because
Okay.
here's what I do, you guys. I
Right.
write it on a giant sticky note, just like you see here, and I put like number and I put lines, and then visually, I mean, I have a little bit of space in my room, but I just choose the number of people and I picture them in chairs. And so every chair that's not filled yet, I was going to have something on their head, but that was a little too Klux Klan-y for my own visual. So I was like, no, let's not do that one. So instead, they just don't have a face yet. Right? It's blurred out. But notice, I'm like, I know exactly how many, and I know that they exist because I'm looking at them. They just don't have a face. So I don't know who they are.
Okay.
Right. But the idea is that you can't know that it's done until you know what's done. Otherwise, there's this like willy-nilly blow in the wind. I don't know how many are out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so pick how many people.
I'm going to say 10.
Okay, so you're going to fill your group with 10 people. And now what comes up for you when I say that?
I guess I'm going back to yesterday. Realistic versus done, right? Like realistically, I want to say I'm offering a lot of great quality content for free. And when I offer the same content and offer people to pay, they're not paying.
Okay.
But they all come when it's free.
Okay,
So
so these are your thoughts that are going to, right? When you spend time in those zones, those are going to sound so like that story is going to sound like the news. You're going to tell another coach that, and they're going to be like, yeah, I know it's all hard, but here's what you're doing. You're spending time in a space. Those exact thoughts will never create your clients. They just want free value. They come when I give it free, right? They seem good. They seem factual. But what's going to create your clients is when you're focused on, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, like focused on us versus focused on them. What focused on them looks like is, okay, there's 10 people. So let me ask you this. Have you ever done a group before?
Oh yeah, I've done lots of groups,
Perfect.
just not paid groups. So I have lots of experience. That's not my problem.
You've never sold 10 spots at once, though, is what I'm asking.
No.
Okay.
No.
Would you still do the group if there were 5?
Yes.
Okay. You can have either number, but you want to be careful that the number doesn't stretch you to the point where it freaks your brain out, right? So knowing like I'd still do the group if there was 5 and my stretch goal is 10. Then your brain's like 5 people. You want to create that belief. 5 people exist.
Yes.
So here's the difference. There's the space you're in your head right now, which is like, they're not watching videos. There's coaches in there.
Yeah.
People just want free. That's the space. Like if we were going to do creates clients, doesn't create clients, the belief that creates client side is going to be like these 5 people exist. 10 people exist. Here's where the certainty comes. I'm not going to stop until I create them. Doesn't matter when the group starts, you push it back. My last group coaching, I pushed back 2 weeks because I knew there were 15 people who wanted to be in the group with me. Okay. Now, how did I know? Because I set the number and I decided I wasn't done until it was done. Okay. Do you feel that certainty?
Yeah.
How do I know that there are 5 people in your group? How do you know that with deep certainty? Because you don't stop until it's done. Okay. Right? And that belief is these people exist. And when we're thinking about them and not us, we're thinking things like, what do they need to hear? What are they struggling with? What, right? I taught everybody on Monday the model. And what's beautiful about the model is it's a way to process your mind, but this is also, Doreen, a way for you to process your client's mind and speak to them. It's the greatest marketing tool that we have. Because when you're thinking about their model and what they're struggling with and who they are, what they're thinking, what their neutral circumstances are, how they feel, you get to speak to that and help them know that there's some result you can help them create. Yeah. Right? That's focusing on them. And the more time you're in that zone, like that's where you need to go over into believing is these 5 people exist. Every day I'm learning how to call them in. What do they need to hear from me? What's the model they're in? Why aren't they saying yes yet? Because then that comes with the belief. They're in my space. They love me. They have the money and want to spend it. But I'm not saying something yet that like, right? And notice everything I just said is a belief you might have to build.
Yeah.
I had to build every one of those. That people exist. They're already in my space. They love me. Because we don't want anybody who don't fit those criteria.
Right.
And
Exactly.
they have money to invest.
Yes.
Your brain's going to want to fight that one, like, but they don't. But your clients do. That's how they got a chair in your visual. They paid for it.
Yeah.
And then you think about, what am I missing? What am I not saying to them? You don't want to say, what am I missing? Because then your brain's like, see, I'm missing things. I know. Right? The way we talk to ourselves matters in those details. But it's like, what do I still need to say? What do they need to hear? How can I inspire them? What are they thinking? What's stopping them? How are they? Like, I think it's interesting to like capture it inside of the coronavirus world. What are they experiencing particular for them? But it's that one person you're thinking of and speaking directly to them. And it's hanging out over there.
Yeah.
And then every piece of what you do, creating the vision. Because, right, when you're thinking of that one person and you're like, I know how this work impacts her. I know what's possible. I know where she started. All right. When I think about myself and I think about like doing all the things and being busy and like having my emotions swing up and down and having no idea that I was in control of them and feeling like everybody else is doing the same stuff. And then getting to the point where I was like, oh, I just created $50,000 in 6 months. Like, what? I know what's possible. You also know.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you. That is good. I'm going to make my little sticker notes right now and put them above my computer as I'm talking to them later, I'm going to see their little faces.
Love it. Yes. Create the visuals. And I
do.
would even go so far as get a piece of paper and on one side say, this is the stuff I think about. These are the ways I feel. This is what I focus on when I'm not in the creating client space, right? Because you're going to know, you're going to write it down. You're going to be like, I think things that sound true, like they're not watching the videos. There's a bunch of coaches in here, right? That stuff's going to sound so, but when you put it on the list and you're like, not helpful, helpful, over here, you're going to put stuff like, I ask myself questions like, what do they need to hear?
Yeah.
Right? And you're going to have a power list created for your brain. And it's going to love you for giving it that like power and control and sense of where to go.
Power list for my brain.
Perfect. And rewatch this if you need to hear it again.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Doreen. Okay. Let's coach Jacqueline Smith. What do you have for me today? There you are. Still muted though. I can't hear you. You're muted.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
I can. How can I help you?
Great. I'm so excited to be on here. I've been loving this training. I was doing a model this morning and I'm noticing the feeling of being blocked and some thoughts that were appearing around that feeling of social media feeling saturated or feeling like I couldn't connect with my people online right now because everyone's online, just like a whole lot of thoughts around that.
Yeah.
Ironically, I just had someone reach out to me about booking a consultation, like as I raised my hand on this call, but clearly the thoughts are still there. So that's kind of what I was hoping you wouldn't mind helping with.
Okay. So let's stop for a minute and notice that even though you're having all of these thoughts, and we'll just label them crazy because it's kind of fun. But if anybody doesn't like labeling their thoughts crazy, don't do that. But right, you can have all the crazy thoughts and you can still have somebody reach out and book a call. Right? My thought is I can kind of suck at consults sometimes and people still say yes because we don't have to be perfect. But notice the relief inside of that perfection isn't the like necessity.
Mm-hmm.
So you're feeling blocked. You're thinking thoughts about social media. I think that the place, like like, tell me what's the actual problem though. Like, do you know how to handle that? Do you know what to do with that?
I guess not. No. So I think I've done a lot of belief work around believing in myself as a coach and believing in my client and them wanting to engage in this work. But I guess I have not done a lot of work around that middle section of us actually connecting and being able to work together, which is where I'm struggling now.
Yeah. And this is the thing we're going to all talk about on Friday is like the areas of your mind that you have to build. And this is just part of it. It's like, this isn't just like thinking thoughts, although it is, and cleaning them up, but it's specific areas. So here's how I would handle this. So step one, you guys, you always have to process your mind on paper. So you're watching me do this, but I never process my mind in my head, at least if I want it to work. Sometimes I do it, but I'm like, this might not work. So here we're going to have social media. And is there something in particular about social media that your brain is referencing?
I think it just feels, at least from my perspective, like so many more people are on networking platforms and social media in general, like Facebook, Instagram, all of the things, because everyone, again, you know, these are my feelings or my beliefs about it, but because everyone seems to be pivoting toward connecting online right now.
Okay. So it's more like building a business on social media.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's on now. What else? What else are you thinking?
There's definitely something in there about like feeling like if no matter what I say, it comes across as salesy because there's just so many voices trying to make offers. I guess those are sort of two thoughts.
Okay. So too many people. Like it's more like it's crowded.
Yeah, exactly.
And so inside of it's crowded, is there this fear of like they won't hear me or that I'm being salesy or?
More of the they won't hear me.
Okay.
Like, not that I think what I'm saying is salesy, but that it's either like not being heard, which I guess then makes me think like, oh, I need to be louder, like I need to be more direct, which then feels salesy. Yeah.
Yeah. And if we just look at this one thought, like we did with Doreen, I think, oh, maybe not. Right? When we're like, they won't hear me. And if we solve for this as a problem, you just said it so beautifully. I'm going to try and talk louder. And what does talking louder look like?
Getting very direct and salesy and
Okay. But what does direct mean? Like you're going to call them out. You're going to like, what does that look like? Direct and salesy.
I suppose it for me it would look like rather than opening up like a very authentic conversation, it's direct in the sense of like, okay, here's what I offer, like do you want it, yes or no?
Yeah, so it's almost like you went on a first date and you were like, hey, you want to marry me?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like,
Yeah,
I don't know
yet
yet.
or what.
Yeah. Right. So when you're believing they won't hear me, and what louder and more salesy sounds like is you're like, I just skip right to the part where I'm like, I can help you. Obviously, you should buy it.
Yes. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
It would be like Peloton rather than them having these commercials where you're watching the person have fun. I cannot imagine somebody sitting on a bike seat and it's like, my butt always hurts. And they're like so happy. And right, they would show instead, all they would have is a picture and the price. You can get it in 3 days.
Right.
But they don't do that, right?
Yeah, it's a good point.
So you have social media, and what you really have is you have this thing you always had. It's a neutral circumstance. We added more people, but more people there is just still neutral. You have the people who want what you have. Now, the danger that we have with social media is we also have a bunch of people that we're not talking to. And those people feel the need to talk back and let us know that we're wrong and we're not speaking to them and all the things. So when you market on social media, you have to be very strong in, I know who I'm talking to. So that when the person comes in and attacks you, you're like, that was weird. It's not my person. So this is you thinking on default. This is no big deal. You want to be aware of this. You want to write this stuff down. Because when you sit there, right, you write it down in it. And then you come back as the observer, you know, like 1 second later, you're like, oh, I'm believing that everybody's on social media now. But I'm believing that as a bad thing. But when you reread it and you're like, everyone's on social media. This is true and false. You're like, wait a minute. Everybody's on social media. But you don't get to have that kind of like, oh, awareness until you write it down. Until you look at the words and you're like, okay, yeah. And then the other thought is like, no matter what I say, it sounds salesy. But down here, you already worked on like, oh, because this is what I would do. So then you're like, oh, this is just my thought about what I do when I'm worried people can't hear me. And it's crowded. And maybe it's crowded, maybe it's not, right? But you look at this as like, but does thinking this help me get the result that I want? Does focusing on how crowded it is help me create clients? Or does focusing on the like, and the people are here. There's more of them than ever. They need me now. Right? So you just kind of have some acceptance and awareness of this stuff is here. So do any of these still feel really true to you? When you think about social media?
Only the crowded one, but it's so interesting because when you just said it, like flipped it as a positive, my mind hadn't even gone there yet of like, oh, like everyone's here. Like everyone can hear you now. Like the audience just grew as well, rather than the competition grew. That has helped sort of shift things on like, oh, it's crowded, but crowded's not bad. Crowded's just crowded.
Yeah. And this is one of the things is when you write down, you can start to question certain things. Like you might, because sometimes when you guys do this, now you might plug it into the model, but you might do this kind of thing too. And so sometimes I might pull out one word if the thought's still right when I get done, if me just talking myself through them didn't create that like neutrality, that release of all the like emotion of believing it, I might come back to a thought that still has a lot of emotion tied to it and resistance. And I might start to identify words like, what does this word mean? Right? And so I might take out crowded and you might break it down. Like enough is a really good one. So often our brain's like, it's not enough. And so that might be one of these sentences where you're like, but what does enough mean? How would I know when it was enough? And you start to question the basics of it rather than just letting it be a thought that you're like, yeah, no, it's probably true. So crowded here, you might break it down. You might say, what is crowded? Like, what does that mean on social media? How does that impact me? Does that impact me? And you take a thought and you're like, because by the time you start asking all those questions about a word like crowded, your brain is like, oh, that's just a word describing a thing. And my brain just used it in a sentence. And then all the energy will seep away.
Yeah, I like that.
And you have a list. So this is the work I would do, like your own homework. Put social media up here and building your business and write down the thoughts you can believe and want to choose to think about social media. Because there's going to be things like, I love that I can grow a business for free. What? That's amazing. I have this free space that I can go where people are, more people than ever. Right? Like my people are attracted to me because of who I am. Who I am is enough. I just show up as me. They're attracted. I draw them in. Whatever it is you need to think. And then you want to really make sure you focus on and celebrate that you just had somebody reach out to you today. Because your brain is not going to want, it's going to like skip right over that. It's going to be like, let's get back to problems and skip the part where somebody reached out and said, hey, let me do this work with you.
So true. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay. Who else do we have? Maritza. Let's do it. Looking at the questions really quick here. Angela says, I know how to serve my people. Is that focused on me? Hey, Maritza, I'm just going through the Q&A real quick. Maybe, right? Like it just depends on how that thought feels for you, Angela. Like, I know how to serve my people. It might also be like they need what I'm like, it could be anything, but it just depends on how it feels for you. I think it feels fine, but it's up to you. Hey, Maritza. How can I help you today?
Oh my gosh. So you already did, because I realized through the evaluations that I never raised my hand for group coaching.
Mm.
And that's part of me being like, I should be further along by now. So I don't really ask for help. So thank you.
I love it.
So this series has been like totally amazing and blowing my mind. One of the things that I noticed from when I'm doing the it's done is like I keep putting I'm back. And I just realized while you were doing the teaching section that I think that that's coming from a place of like something went wrong.
Okay.
And since I had been successful and then I kind of like burnt myself out and everything, and now I'm kind of rebuilding. So I'm like, I need to find like the it is done from somewhere else. Cause I thought I was doing it right, but now I think I'm kind of like not doing it right.
So first of all, right, this is second guessing. What if there's just no right way? It's just about how you feel, right? Question number one is about creating possibility in your body. The goal is to start to feel different. And so that's why sometimes I just do 10 possibility statements to create that feeling. Question two is about creating a feeling. There is no right or wrong. But when we're out in our world and we're thinking about our business, right? Even though somebody reaches out and is like, hey, let's book a call, and somebody else is like, who I just signed with you, our brain's like, yeah, but let's get back over to problems. Let's get back over to feeling fast and tense and tight. And like we have a shield up and resistant. And it's like the point of the question isn't to get it right or wrong. It's to shift and open up how you feel. It's to remember to come back to that space where you're like, I do it right. If your future self was speaking to you and she's like, Maritza, I got you. 1 year from now, you did it. And like, there's going to be this like, oh, right? Because it's like, she knows. That's what you're giving yourself in that question, is that it's calmness. It might be relief, right? But not always. It's not going to just be full of relief, but it's this certainty. I figured it out, and now I'm just learning how I did it. It's
Okay.
only that matters is the emotion, and the thoughts are just part of what you're practicing tying the emotion to. So somebody who doesn't feel the emotion yet, you're learning how to think from the place of it's done. But there's no
Okay.
right or wrong.
That was so helpful. Yeah, I think I've been trying to solve it. Just like I realized that I keep trying to solve the problem of me. So question two, I'm like, must solve problem. And you just said, feel it. And I'm like, okay, that's what I haven't been doing, like feeling it.
Yes.
And
Perfect. So
and also for question one, I've been putting just one, like the same one over and over again.
yeah,
And you just said, sometimes I do 10.
sometimes I do.
Okay,
But
so I'm
remember,
gonna have
the reason question one is there is so that you don't forget your goal. You don't get distracted, because sometimes your brain's going to be like, well, the goal is to help everybody. I should go do this thing that everybody will get benefit from. And you're like, wait, the way that I help my people is because they work with me. Like, this is all great, you guys. This is nothing compared to working with me one-on-one for 6 months or working with me in a group. And it's the same thing. Every piece of value you offer, it's great that it's free. It's great that they come into it, but it will never be as impactful as them hiring you and making that decision to show up for themselves. And so you are serving them when your goal is one client. And everything you do to create that is you staying focused. And that possibility, like every day you want to feel that possibility. And so sometimes I do like, it's possible to create the goal that I have. And then I might have like sub possibilities like that, like flow it out, right? So if it's possible to create a client this week, it might also be possible that you can do it feeling calm and certain, right? And I would just write that it's possible that I can do this feeling calm. It's possible that I can do this feeling certain. It's possible that
that I
these
can
people, what?
do this with less action.
Yes.
That one, yeah.
Yeah, it's possible that this could be simple, right? Simple is a gift we give ourselves unless we're making it complicated. And then you always end on the same note. It's possible to create one client this week, because your brain will get lost. It'll be like, oh my gosh, are we supposed to do those things in between? Let me do them. No. It's possible to create a client. And these are all the things that are possible inside of it.
Okay. Okay, that's helpful. Yeah. Especially it's possible with ease and simplicity and less action. As I'm in the middle of this like series of actions that I'm committed to finishing.
But you even keep telling a story about that, right? Everybody else wouldn't have heard it, but I've heard this already because we coach together. She coaches with me. And it's, you want to change the story you're telling even about this thing you're doing, because your story you keep telling is, even though I'm doing all this action and I'm inside of this thing, versus like, yeah, you know what? When I forget and I go back into action, that's just where I'm at. But you get to do this thing you already committed to with ease and simplicity. You get to do it feeling calm, and you get to tell the story about it that way. Like, I decided to show up and do these things, and I am. I get to
Okay.
feel calm when I do it. This is so easy for me because this brilliance is just at the top of my head. I get to show up and coach. I love this. But it's a very different feeling and story than the one you have now.
Right. Right. Yeah. The story that I've been telling is kind of, I said I was going to do it, so I'm obligated.
Yeah.
And yeah. And yesterday you did tell me, what if you show up tomorrow and you just make it easy and simple? And I did a flip chart instead of like a bunch of doodles and all like 5 million pieces of art. And it was super fun and simple.
Yeah. And now every day you get to just think about how simple and easy it is and fun, because it's a different feeling in your body. It's a different way you approach the whole thing, rather than from there I was doing it again, right? That's almost like the chastising, I did it wrong. And you want to come into the acceptance and the ease of like, yeah, this is fun for me.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Okay, everybody, we are at time. I'm going to just take a quick look here through the comments. I think I got them all. Awesome. I'll see you guys back again tomorrow, Thursday, 12 p.m. Eastern. See you then.